me was like, they're like, hey, we really need an Asian actress. Does anybody know anybody Asian? I'm like, and Matt is like, yeah, I know somebody. I'll call her, you know. And so then I got the call. I was like, yeah, I'll go. I'm much like Greg. I'm a big believer in if it, you know, you don't know. You have to show up and see if any, you know, no matter how wacky an idea seems, or you don't never heard of them, well, they never heard of you either. It's like, just show up and see what happens. So it was so much fun. I mean, I had gone to the BMI workshop and I'd seen them do Kermit, Prince of Denmark, and I loved it. And I just thought, they're so gifted, you know, like, so anyway, so I show up and they're like, hey, we need somebody to sing 2 lines and everyone's a little bit racist. I'm like, fantastic.
Yeah. And all these songs, none of these songs really had anything to do with a story at that point.
They were just
We were thinking of a TV show. We wanted to create a show where every week there'd be some kind of theme, and we'd have a lot of little skits and stuff like that, puppets and some kind of story, but not really. And so we had written all these songs that were not supposed to go together, and racist. We just kind of put them up in our first reading, so racist. We had this idea that Brian would have an Asian fiance, and we had a funny line for her. So we thought, well, let's get it.
What was the line that cinched the deal?
Oh, I don't know. What was it, really?
It's something about recyclables.
Oh.
Recyclables.
Alright, come back here, take all these recyclables.
Change the course of theater history.
Like, literally, I can't even tell you how many times I've had to say that into somebody's phone.
Oh my gosh, my friend loves Avenue Q, will you? I'm not asking for real. I'm reenacting those moments for you. But you would? Thank you for being willing.
You don't really have a friend that likes Avenue Q, do you?
I have all my friends like Avenue Q. That's for darn sure. All of my friends, they're people of taste and breeding. So you were with it from the workshop all the way into it, yeah? Then?
Yeah, I mean, I guess 2000? From
May of 2000.
May of 2000 on.
And so Stephanie's staying with you.
Yeah, and when Rick
Well,
talked about...
you were involved before that.
No, I wasn't. I came on because my husband, Craig Shemin, who's out there somewhere. Hi!
Hi, Craig!
President of the Jim Henson Legacy at the time, was working for the Jim Henson Company in the Creative Services Department, and Bobby and Jeff met him because they were trying to pitch Kermit, Prince of Denmark to Henson. Not like Craig had any say, but they were meeting with him to see getting farther up the chain.
And then Craig, who's a TV writer, offered to help us write this pilot, and we graciously accepted, and he graciously gave us his office in the Jim Henson townhouse. So we would go in, the people would let us write up, and we felt so subversive, writing Avenue Q in the belly of the beast, as it were. It's pretty fun.
You guys played, I think, If You Were Gay and Tear It Up and Throw It Away on the second floor conference room on that grand piano. He was one of the first people to hear those songs. And then you said, well, we're looking to do this reading. This was probably in late '99, so we're looking to do a reading in the spring. We need a female puppeteer. It's like, well, my wife's a puppeteer. And he showed the clips we'd worked together at that time on a show called The Webulous World of Dr. Seuss. And unbeknownst to me, Rick had also thought of me, but he thought I'd be too busy.
Yeah, I had said, well, you know, Stephanie'd be perfect with this, but I don't think she'll be able to do it.
Which, like, okay, always ask your friends. Never assume they're busy. So it was just serendipitous that this also happened. And it was nice to have 2 people validate my being in that reading. But so that's how I got involved with that first reading. But I remember the rehearsal process for that first reading seemed like it was just very sporadic for a few months beforehand.
Yeah,
That's why it seems like it was longer.
Well, and I always kind of forget that we had Johnny.
Yeah.
Who had already been there for a while. He was the first other person.
Yeah, John Tartaglia, and because Rick and I and Johnny had worked together on Sesame Street for years. That's how far I started at Sesame like in late '93, so that's when Rick and I met. I probably should have established that we knew each other.
Oh yeah. Well, that's one of the unusual things about the original cast of Puppeteers. We all knew each other for years before we'd ever done Avenue Q.
In fact, when we were at the Vineyard, I think between the 4 of us, we had 50 years collective professional puppetry experience. Which was pretty fun, because it was fun to do something similar to what we knew how to do, but very different, making up new rules for the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the early challenges, I must say. The style of puppetry that you see in Avenue Q as it exists today was something that took a while to develop, because that style, that was one of the groundbreaking things about the show, is it was the television style of puppets live on stage. Nobody had ever done that before. And so we had to kind of figure out how to make that work, and it was a process.
But it was fun working that out. But anyway, I was really grateful that.
So cleverly done. I mean, when you watch it with the way it's lit, and it really, you become really engrossed in what's happening with the puppets' lives, as well as being aware of the actors. Howie, when did you come into this? Come to the Ave?
I came in 2005, January, I think. I started rehearsals. I had heard of the show a year or two before that. I was doing a production of Christmas Carol at the Fords in DC, and backstage a friend of mine in full Dickensian garb was singing "The Internet is for Porn." Like putting on a cape, "The Internet is for," and I was like, what is that mess? What are you doing? And he was like, "Oh, it's the show with puppets, and it's in New York, and it's all this music," and I was like, "No, that's not a thing." He was like, "No, really?" And so after the show, we listened to the cast recording, and I was like, "Oh, okay." We went all the way through once, and then let's play it again. Play the whole thing. Okay, and then I was flipping through the little booklet, and I was like, "Okay, so I'm totally going to be in this show." And without any ego, I was like, "This is. Oh, I get what this is." And so then fast forward a year after that, and yeah, I ended up coming in and covering, and then I played Princeton Rod for 1,000 or something.
I was going to say, over 1,000
Forever,
performances.
Howie, had you puppeteered? You had not puppeteered before, right?
No, but as an only child, I was.
Had to make friends somehow.
I was in desperate need of friends, and I would watch Sesame Street, and I would sit and just try to copy everything this pop. I was fascinated with it. And then luckily, with all of you and Peter Linz and just like helping me through it all, and then there were a lot of rehearsals I was crying. It hurt so bad to see the stamina that it takes to and I don't know, was it different for you guys from going here to here?
Oh, it's very different. It's
Like
very
completely
different.
Tell us about that,
muscles.
because I think a lot of people don't understand kind of how that works on
This hurts
television.
really bad.
Yeah, but
When you're working on TV, you're usually standing or scooting around on the
scooting
floor
on the
on
ground
Sesame
and keeping
Street,
your head
but
up.
you're working above your head, so you actually have the advantage of having your whole spinal column sort of supporting you and stuff. In Avenue Q, you're just cantilevered out to the side, so it's a different kind of set of muscles and a different kind of
Lot of
stress.
physical
I
therapy.
don't know if any of you guys have ever been to a musical reading where actors have music stands and their material like that, and so they have to kind of look up and look down because they haven't memorized the material yet. But when you're doing Avenue Q and they're puppets,
Oh my God.
you have they can look at the words, but the puppets look like they're off book.
No, I just remember it's really hard to do page turns in a reading, so I had
sometimes
to
the
like prepare
puppets
my
have to
script.
turn the pages with their
the
mouth.
tape and accordioning for multi-page scenes and stuff like that. But I wanted to say, Howie, you were one of the people who picked it up, the puppetry, really quickly. You and Christian Anderson, I think, were two of the people who picked up the puppetry the fastest.
I think because we loved it so much and we wanted to figure out how to put the entire human condition in the hand and make it all.
Well, there's
seem
so much to
real.
it that you wouldn't guess when you watch somebody who's adept at it. Oh, we have a very special guest. But there's so much involved. It's like, can you tell us a little bit technically about the way the hand has to be and
Well,
where you're...
I mean, I've been through auditions and stuff like that, both, I've gone through auditions, I've been on the other side during auditions. There are brilliant performers who just cannot translate this to this. And some people, it's a, "Hi, Nikki, how are you?"
I have to hold the microphone to him because
I know.
I don't actually make noise.
That's true.
It's awkward.
To get it, there are basics. A lot of people, the natural instinct is to close the hand as you're speaking. A lot of people can't get past that. When you have to think about the human face, we open our mouths when we speak. That's just a basic that some people never even get past that. But then to get to a point where it's so natural that you believe that this is a living, breathing creature
I'm not.
who it would hurt very much if I It's harder. Anyone who does something really well, and you were talking about ballet dancers, anybody who does something really well makes it look effortless, and you don't see the effort, but it's hard to get to that point. But everybody assumes, people know ballet is hard. People think puppetry is the easiest thing in the world until they try it.
You know what it's most like? It's most like learning a new musical instrument. For those of you who play musical instruments, it's actually, the disciplines are very similar. And it's a very similar sort of process, because what it is you're channeling your performance through an outside vessel. You're channeling your performance in something that's outside of yourself. And that's such a cheap gimmick, you know? All I'm doing is this, okay? Don't do that again.
Timing. It's the timing.
You stripped me.
Yeah.
There is just so much to it, and it just looks so flawlessly executed on stage. It really does. I want to make sure I talk to Erin here. I don't want to leave you out of this joining into the company moment.
What?
Oh, sorry. No, I expected Nikki to say something, and I had a felt joke that I was gonna try.
I'm very certain Nikki can set you up for that.
Hashtag me too. I lived on the Avenue Q. I came after the Vineyard production when they did the Broadway transfer. I got a call. I was directing a show in Seattle, and I didn't know anything about it, but fortunately, when my friend called to tell me about it, I called my agent, and she coincidentally happened to represent all the puppeteers, because she was Johnny's agent prior. So she said, oh, you know, coincidentally, yeah, I can get you an audition. And the casting director did not want to see me because I would have had to fly in from the West Coast. And so she was very determined not to see me, right? And then she waited till the last possible moment, and my agent said, listen, if you don't see her, I'm not going to lie to you, you're going to regret it, and the thing is she's going to book it, so then you're going to have to eat crow. So I was like, okay, that's a lot of pressure. Yeah, it's like very hostile, Penny. So I was like, that's not the way to get me the appointment. So she did wait till the last minute. She waited till 4 o'clock in LA to tell me to be there at 10 o'clock in New York. Yeah. So I was semi-hysterical and not sure I could make, because that's at 4 o'clock, that's the cutoff to get back to New York from LA. And fortunately, my parents let me use their frequent flyer miles, and I stayed overnight in the airport in Atlanta, and then I had another connect to Newark, and I washed my hair in an airport sink, and it's glamorous. Showbiz is glamorous. Don't let anybody lie to you. And then I took the bus from Newark into New York to 8th Avenue, and I waited in a coffee shop until the building opened, because it was still 6 in the morning, and then I went in and I sang it, and then she said, here's a tape and a script, come back tomorrow. And then I took it home and read it, and my mother said, what do you think of it? And I said, either it's genius or a giant piece of shit. And right now I actually could not tell you which one it is.
Well, 15 years later, I'm going to say genius is probably where this landed.
I erred to the side of genius, yeah.
When I watched it the other day, just going a little bit back to the physicality that we were talking about, and I'm so fascinated with the hand puppets who are as part of Trekkie Monster, for example, and not only getting the body together, but the acting beats are so alive and so real. And what are the keys to accomplishing that?
With the puppets, or just in general?
With the puppets.
Well,
specifically.
some of the puppets have no live hands. They just have rods, so one performer can do one puppet. Whereas Nikki,
Right.
his other hand is pinned. Sorry, Nikki.
Right.
It's been.
But when
I
we
stopped
If it wasn't,
because I knew Jen wasn't.
but if it wasn't, I would be back here, or Jen, or someone back here doing that. That's how Cookie Monster works.
The short answer to that relationship is it's really like having a dance partner. You know, you have to be that much in tune with each other, and you have to know that well what the other person is going to do. It's actually one of the interesting things about that relationship is that you just can't screw up your partner. You have to be so consistent every single night. You have to make the same step every night. You have to do the same gesture every night.
Yeah, and I would say for an understudy, especially if you have different, whoever your partner is, like Rick does this, Christian does that, like that's
You gotta
hard.
know that. You
It's
can't
hard,
twist.
and like,
It's not-
and then when you find a rhythm, 'cause I think I went on for like 2 weeks with Rick at like one time or something like that.
Yeah,
You
great.
find a rhythm, it's like, oh, okay, I got it now. And then somebody else comes in, or you're like, oh, we're doing this now. It's like, like I had it. So, but that I think that was probably the hardest thing personally for me was to just feel it. But I kind of know what he kind of likes to do, or he does, or you know. So I think that was like probably the hardest thing, especially for understudies with the puppeteering, because yeah, you got to know those beats. It's that rehearsal
Yeah.
is.
I can only imagine.
And I just want to add real quick, for those of you who might not be familiar with Avenue Q, I think that's one of the reasons that the show...
Why would you be here?
They're here.
You never know. You never know.
I don't know how you
I think
found
that's
us.
I think that's one of the show's...
Just wandered in.
I think that's one of the show's successes, is that it's not a passive show. As an audience member, you are asked to participate in understanding what the relationship is between the puppet and the puppeteer. It's like watching a foreign movie with subtitles at first. You're like, where do I look? And then after the first, few seconds, your brain totally accepts that and just takes it all in. That's one of the things I like about Avenue Q, is that it challenges the audience to participate in that. It's not just a show that washes over you and you don't have to think about it. It's not just fluff. And it's a clever show with issues.
Yeah, and
you
let's
know?
talk about some of the issues with that, though, because the themes that are so timely even today, and even maybe resonate more. But, themes of, hi. Oh, we are?
Hi, David.
That's David Alpert, everybody.
David Alpert. Hi, David. Genius, David Alpert. Oh, he
Well,
deserves
okay,
more
so
than
this-
that. He helps put this whole thing together.
Oh, well, guys, okay, this
Twitter
is...
questions. Why
I
didn't you
guess
say
Twitter
so?
questions have come up. We were just gabbing and gabbing, and now apparently we have to go to Twitter questions. So we've asked some people to write in questions for y'all. Look at that. There you are. We've asked them to send us some Twitter
Eat your
questions.
t-shirt, somebody.
Okay, great. So let's look at this first one. Let's see how you read. First Twitter question. So I'm just trying to read that.
Do puppets have a retirement plan?
No, and that's from @music. Where's @music? Stand up, @music.
Music.
Hi, so how did you get @music? You're like, I got up very early in the morning on Twitter day. All right, what's the answer to that question?
You should answer that question. Does he have a retirement plan?
No. We're not in the union.
Well, guess what, @music, for tweeting us that question. You just got 2 tickets to go see Avenue Q. Yeah. All right. What's our next Avenue Q&A? This is Joy Raymer. Stand up, Joy. Hi, Joy. Joy wants to know, is there any sort of exercise regimen for building up strength for handling the puppets? Also, Stephanie, what was it like working with Julie Andrews?
First question first. People just think, oh, is your arm tired? Well, it's your hand, so doing grippy exercises like that, because you're
Lot
doing
of
this
stretches.
constant movement a lot. Lots of stretches. The shoulder is
And-
really what gets you too.
And PT, you
Yeah.
have to have it a lot.
Yeah, but also it's so weird. Puppetry is the sort of thing that uses muscles that you don't use in anything else.
Right.
So I can't say, oh, if you do curls or you do this. It's just you kind of have to do it a lot
Yeah,
and get
it
it
is,
in your
it is
bones.
one of the, it's just like, what are the exercises you do to be a good basketball player? Well, you do drills, but that's, what a drill is really just doing it, right? So you really just build up the muscles and the stamina that you need from doing it. I've been doing this since like birth. And I actually have trouble buying clothes that look like a normal person because my right side is so much more developed than my left side. I'm sort of lopsided.
And Stephanie, Julie Andrews, lover or hater? I'm just sorry, we're running out of
What do you
time.
think the
I heard
answer
she's
to
a
that?
nightmare.
What do you think the answer to that question is going to be? I was so lucky to get to be in her aura and presence. And what was even more fun about that is her hair and makeup guys who've been with her forever who worked with her. They're in SOB, that scene where she's on the leading board. They're primping her. They love telling stories about that movie, and she's just lovely. And her daughter Emma Walton Hamilton was a producer on the show as well. And just Julie and Emma were wonderful, and was really lucky to get a chance to do something that was that special.
I think she's a pretty special lady.
Yeah.
Guess what? You're going to go see Avenue Q as well. 2 tickets to you. Next week. I have an Avenue Q inspired tattoo that I love dearly. What is the craziest thing a fan has ever done or gift you've ever received? Who wants that one?
That's not crazy. That's awesome.
Someone made me a foam door hanger that on one side said, "Today I feel like Kate," and the other side said, "Today I feel like Lucy."
Oh,
And
I love
still
that.
have it.
Stand up. Who wrote that one?
Yeah.
All right.
There you go. You're going to go see Avenue Q as well next week. This is fun.
I think that one was the craziest, the tattoo.
The tattoo? That's an homage. You're with Avenue Q's with you always.
It's a
This
good
is
sponsor.
Caroline. Caroline, please stand up. There you are. How many Trekkie puppets do you use in every show?
That's a good question.
He does seem to teleport.
That's one of the fun things about Avenue Q is that a lot of people don't understand that there's multiple versions of every puppet. The puppets don't do costume changes very well. So there's like 8 Princetons and 7 Kates and 6. There are a total of 4 Trekkie monsters in the New York production. 4.
Okay. Next week, okay. We're running desperately low on time, and I hate it because I want to talk to you guys
We
forever.
need to get a.
Favorite mess up on stage?
Oh, can I take this one? So during previews at the Vineyard, it was our 3rd or 4th preview, and I think it was your birthday, right, Rick?
That's not a mess up. That's a tragedy.
Well, I think it was the moment that I lost it the most. Rick, they blacked out the lights after Internet is for Porn, and there wasn't enough light at that point yet to get him off stage.
Actually, I ended the Internet is for Porn with Trekkie Monster like an outdoor. So I'm down on my knees and I'm in a pin spot because there was playoff music to help Jen get up to the 2nd floor because the next puppet character that she has to do is up on the 2nd floor. It's Mrs. Thistlетwat. So we needed to fill some time. So after Porn, there's this little playoff and I'm in the pin spot and I'm exiting stage right. And at the Vineyard, they took out the first couple of rows of the seats and they built an apron on the stage. So that there was an extension on the front of the stage that ended before the proscenium did. Well, there was escape stairs there and we were in our early previews and we weren't quite done with everything and there was no glow tape on the stage and I fell off the
And
stage.
they turned off the conductor monitors too. You used to
Yeah.
have some light from that.
So I fell down the stage and I badly sprained my ankle.
Jeez Louise.
And this was the 3rd preview, and he could not